If you're looking for a dreadlock style that has the maximum amount of texture and volume, you might consider doing our extra large Knotty no seals. For this process, you'll get about 3 to 4 dreads per package of jumbo braid. So we're going to separate the amount of hair that we want to use, and we're going to wrap it around a post. Now, if you're doing this at home, you'll probably have a coat hanger taped to something or tied to something. If you have a dread loom, what we're doing is we're using one of the dowel rods between the 2 boards to sandwich that together. So that will create our nice tight loop at the top. We are going to also, to prevent this rod from coming out, we're going to put our clamps to the inside. If we were going to do multiples all at once, we would have several pieces of hair. If you're not sure how big to make your dreads, do one first, then go back and separate your packs. That will tell you exactly how many to do. Now, for this dread, we're going to actually do a 3/4 length. We're not going to do a full, not a half, but a 3/4. So I'm just going to cut the ends about this much off. Okay, now we're ready to begin our backcombing. Backcombing is the key to any bigger dreadlock style. So we want to make sure that we have enough backcombing put in, that it's consistent, and that it's all the way around. So the way that we're going to do that is the same as we always do our backcombing. Big strokes at first and then tighter ones to the top, but on this, we're going to rotate slightly to make sure that we get it from every angle. With these Knotty no-seal style, the backcombing is a little bit more forgiving because they're intended to be kind of nubby and bubbly. So don't worry if you don't have it exactly correct, because we'll be fixing that once we go do our wraps. You do want it to be consistent though, so take your time in feeling it and making sure that the backcombing is even throughout your sections and that you're getting it from each side. So make sure that you're taking a second to stop and look at the bottom side, like we have a streak here that doesn't have as much backcombing. So we can either lift it up and backcomb from the bottom, or we can do it like this. I like to be able to see what I'm doing, so more often than not, I'll just turn it. If you find yourself getting bigger loops, what you do is you're gonna take your bundle and just kind of separate it out, run your hands down it, and even comb it back towards you to kind of smooth those bigger things out. Now, the biggest key is if you want these dreads to be really fluffy at the base, so it gives you that height and lift, you need the backcombing to be concentrated there. You don't want to create kind of a bulk, like bubbles there, but you want to make sure that it's solid all the way up to the top. So that's where it's most important. Out here, it can be tapered, doesn't really matter. It's not going to add to your height and volume at the tips. Those are going to skinny down. So just make sure that it's all concentrated right up in this area. These kind of get pretty big. They get into these kind of like wild monster pieces that are a little bit hard to deal with, but just keep grabbing those spots and backcombing them on their own and then backcombing everything together and you'll have it. It just takes a little while. Okay, so we have our finished dreadlock form and now we're ready to do the wrapping. To put in the texture component, I'm going to use a micro needle or a latch hook tool, and I'm going to take small amounts of our jumbo braid fiber and use that to wrap the exterior. So I'm taking this, pulling a small amount away, holding the fiber in my left hand because I'm right-handed. I'm going to use the hook, push it through, then I'm going to pick up that fiber and pull it all the way through. Now, as an alternate method, if you don't have a latch hook and you're in a pinch, you don't necessarily need to start it through the center. That's just how I like to start it. You can actually just wrap it around the back side of the dread. But for me, I like to do it this way because I feel like it makes it more secure to start my braid. So from here, I'm just going to take one side and wrap it around. And this is where we do our random kind of wrapping patterns. So I'm down, I'm gonna cinch it down. I'm just gonna do kind of a crisscross motion. And now I'm actually holding the fiber in my left hand, going through my fingers, and I'm just gonna take the right and do some wrapping with it, kind of solo. And then I'm going to switch and do the other way. And if you want, you can even pick up some of the hair from the dread, and that'll give it a little bit more texture too. This is all about being kind of random. So I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to cinch it in spots so it gives you kind of some nice loops and bubbles. Okay, once I've gotten to my end, I'm just going to take it and find my other piece. And for this, I'm just going to take these ends and do a small braid. And the reason why I do this is, unlike regular Knotty no seals, your loops on this are pretty big. So you wouldn't have the ability to kind of, I mean, you could take another piece and wrap it over the top, but I think that you stand the chance of kind of having it unravel a little bit easier, and we don't want that. So we're just gonna do a small braid to secure our fiber, and we're gonna take our backcombing comb and just give it a little bit of backcombing. Now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start wrapping with another piece of fiber right about here. Same as before, just putting in our latch hook tool, picking up the fiber on the other side and just pulling the one end through. I actually like the texture of the braid, so I'm not going to try to cover it. I think as much texture as you can get on these, the better. They have their own kind of unique styles. Okay, it doesn't look like I'm going to need an extra piece on this. So I'm just going to use this one all the way to the tips. Okay, now from here you have a couple different options. You can do that nice swirled tip by backcombing all of this together and using your flat iron, or you can take the ends and do a braid all the way down to the tips and then heat seal that and then just cut that away. I'm going to do a little bit of both. So I'm going to do a braid up to about here, and then I'm going to backcomb. And then we're going to use a little bit of water and a flat iron to seal this into a nice smooth shape. Before I do anything with the tips, one of the last things I like to do is kind of accentuate this texture. So I'm going to take the end of a metal comb and just kind of go through and just pull and kind of pull out some of those bubbles to kind of accentuate those curves. So that'll make it even more bubbly than we have it before. Now, if you don't think you have quite enough texture, you can always go through at this point and do more wraps on the top or do different color wraps on the top. That's always fun too. So there's a lot of possibilities. And I like that. So now we're ready to seal a tip. You can either do this with an iron or you can use your flat iron. I like to use the flat iron. I feel like I have a little bit more control. So we're just going to twist the ends. I'm not gonna go all the way out here yet because this is wanting to kind of unravel itself. So I wanna make sure that we set this first so it stops fighting me. So I'm just gonna fold the towel over. Now this is a very wet towel. It is not dripping wet, but it is pretty wet. And you can hear that steam. And it's the steam that's doing the work. So if your towel's too dry, it won't be enough to actually get through the center. Okay, so you want to hold it before you, or you need to hold it until it's cool before you let go. And that's what's going to allow that shape to form. Okay, and we're just going to keep using that pattern until we get to the very teeny tiny ends, and then we're just going to clip those away. If it's not sizzling, then it's not working. You need that steam to get all the way to the core. Okay, now that it's cool, I can let go and it'll still hold that shape. So now we just snip that tip. And there we have it, that's our end. So let's take a look at that loop on the top. There you have it, and that's how it'll be installed. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, make sure that you subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a beat. And if you need products for your projects, check out doctoredlocks.com for all your hair extension needs.